We're now to our preservation awards, and my name is John Roberts. I am the chairman of the Public Affairs Committee for Historic Fort Worth, and our first award is to the Bethel congregation. And in storage for almost 25 years, 23 art glass medallions created in 1948 are again in view at the Bethel congregation. The circular panes, each painted with symbols of Jewish holidays and traditions, were once the centerpiece of stained glass windows at 207 West Broadway. The windows were the work of Erno Fabre, a Czech American. In 1999, the congregation was constructing its contemporary synagogue at 4900 Briarhaven Road. Debate arose among salvaging the circular medallions from the historic building that are 12 inches and 14 inches in diameter. A compromise arose, and a dozen medallions, each depicting the 12 tribes of Israel, were adaptively reused in clear-story windows on the new synagogue's Hall of Remembrance. Those involved learned most of the paintings pictured were ceremonial objects used in Jewish communities, making the windows speak through the prism of time. If the remaining medallions were to be saved, $7,000 in private funds would be needed, which was raised. Two of the members of the Temple Brotherhood constructed plywood crates padded with bubble wrap to cushion each piece of antique glass and was stored in the temple archives. More than 2 decades passed, and twice the medallions were unpacked and placed on exhibit. In 2022, Judith Singer Cohen donated the funds to the Fort Worth Jewish Archives to adaptively reuse and permanently display the medallions. A showcase was rewired by Alfred Walker of Lighting and Design for the 8 medallions, and the Don Young Glass Studio crafted a design to install 11 medallions in the transom of the corridor of the Hall of Remembrance, and the remaining 4 medallions were backlit with a cabinet in the Hall of Remembrance. The project was completed, and the rest is history. Rabbi Brian Zimmerman of Bethel Congregation will accept this preservation award tonight.
The second award is for the Burke House. This house at 1501 Pruitt Street was built in 1903 by Robert Underwood, a talented carpenter and cabinet maker. Records show that the earliest owner was Henry Burke, who was owner of a wholesale outlet for kitchen and restaurant and market hardware. The Burke family resided in the home until shortly after World War II. It was located in the growing medical district and was purchased by an optometrist, then a dentist, then a psychiatrist. In 1999, the house was purchased by a hospital, and it's 1.5 stories, gabled wood frame house with brick veneer on the ground floor and shingles above. When Dallasites Pat and Mickey Bradley heard that a historic house was being offered for free, they jumped on it and looked for a new lot for the house. And they found that in Fairmount at 2001 6th Avenue, which was now a vacant lot. It had been the site of many businesses, and so the Bradleys bought the lot in May of 2000, and the 1,275 square foot house was loaded up for the 1.5-mile journey to its new location. Unfortunately, on the way there, the hitch broke on the tow truck, and the front of the house fell almost 2 feet. The plaster walls were damaged beyond repair, but not a single window was broken. The Bradleys got to work, and the restoration and the result are spectacular. Receiving a residential rehabilitation award are the homeowners Pat and Mickey Bradley.
Our next award is for First on 7th. Located at 500 West 7th and built for the First National Bank in 1961 by the architecture firm of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, with Preston Guerin Jr. as associate architect. This mid-century modern office building has always been known for its Isamu Nagachi sculpture on the 7th Street Plaza. SOM designed a classic skyscraper that withstood the test of time. For most of its history, the first floor has held either the First National Bank or one of its predecessors, the last of which was the Bank of America. When the bank left the building in 2018, an opportunity arose to provide new uses and services to the public areas of the building. These bring more activity to the first floor and outdoor plaza at the skyscraper, and hopefully it will bring more activity to Burnett Park across the street. Now, Glenn Darden has repurposed the building, and it includes many new retail establishments with important sculptures and artworks on the main floor. The former banking lobby has been subdivided into Neighbor's House, 61 Osteria, Buongiorno Coffee, and a Guarantee Bank branch. Receiving the Preservation Award for First on 7th is Glenn Darden.
The next award is located at 2237 Hemphill Street, and this is the law offices of Domingo Garcia. The house is set back on a large lot on a once fashionable boulevard and is an imposing 4 square, which was one of many large and very styled homes lining Hemphill. The residence was built in 1911 in the popular horizontal line prairie style for wholesale lumber dealer Sidney Smith. Smith sold it 4 years later to Rufus James, who was the owner of a real estate company. Around 1924, Daniel and Bertha Leidick purchased the house. Leidick was a 19-year-old bookkeeper who worked his way up to vice president of Farmers and Mechanics Bank by 1925. 2 years later, he was president of the Union Bank and Trust Company in Fort Worth. The Leidicks lived in the house till the 1940s. The house contains several styles of leaded stained art glass, including prairie-style chevrons influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright, a 7-foot window on the staircase with family crests with a painted scene and a castle-like structure on it. The dining room utilizes naturalistic-style art glass depicting vines and bunches of grapes in the style of Louis Comfort Tiffany. The house was vacant for many years, having been subdivided into numerous apartments by the 1960s, and just prior to the pandemic, it was purchased by Domingo Garcia, who is a well-known trial attorney and former state representative. He engaged State Representative Ramon Romero as a project manager for his restoration project. In visiting with Representative Romero, he added that front porches and porte-cochere were completely rebuilt due to improper framing techniques of the day. Additionally, the French drain around the perimeter of the basement was also reconstructed. Domingo Garcia is unable to be with us this evening, but Suzanne Montez will accept the Preservation Award on behalf of Mr. Garcia.
Charles Kincaid opened his grocery and market in 1946. It was the first grocery store to have specialty departments, including a full-service meat market. O.R. Gentry was the head butcher. In 1964, O.R. began cooking burgers on a small griddle for local customers. He used the best cuts of meat and precious vegetables from the produce rack, and those burgers were soon the talk of the town. Businesses were booming, and the grocery store shelves were cut down to countertop height to provide a place for the customers to stand and eat. The grocery items were removed to give space for the tables, and over time, Kincaid's evolved from a grocery store into a hamburger institution. Kincaid's continued to grow in popularity, and in 1982, Kincaid's won Best Burger in America, the first among many awards. Today, Kincaid's has 5 locations. The Camp Bowie location has been in business for 77 years. O.R. Gentry is receiving a Great Steward Award for his hamburger institution.
The next award is the Colden House Project at 2503 Roosevelt Avenue. This house was built in 1913, and it was recently restored and adapted for commercial use by Cassie and Jacob Warren. It was originally built for Anton Colden, the Czechoslovakian manager of the stockyards. The house came with Mr. Colden's naturalization papers, which are now on an inside wall of the copy shop inside the building, as well as the family's photo album. The Warrens wanted the house to be considered for landmark status, and the research was compelling, and last year, the Colden House was designated a local and historic landmark of the city of Fort Worth. The 2-story building is characterized by a mixture of 4 square and Italianate styles, with a square frame and low-pitched hip roof and dormers on 3 sides. The square building features porches on 3 corners and cast iron railings on the balconies. Decorative brackets hang above the windows, and the exterior is brick and concrete. Cassie Warren wanted the coffee shop to attract families in the neighborhood, which is happening. She recently sold the coffee shop business, kept the building, and is pursuing her professional career. The award is for the adaptation of the Anton Colden House into commercial use, and accepting the Preservation Project Award for the Warrens is Master Sergeant Selena Sines.
Our next award is to the Landreth Lodge. The ownership of the Landreth Lodge has come full circle thanks to the recent purchase and revitalization by great-granddaughter Angie Landreth Butler and her husband William Butler. Designed in 1938 by Joseph R. Pellick for oilman Ed Landreth, the complex was built as a retreat for employees and stockholders of the Landreth Production Company as well as other companies. It includes a generous central lodge with 4 cottages, a garage, a boathouse, a derrick lock, and a lighthouse. Additions have been sensitive to the original architecture with few changes for greater functioning. Natural knotty pine is used throughout the interior, and the building's gabled forms are reminiscent of Mount Vernon. The San Francisco architecture firm hired to survey Fort Worth's most significant buildings included the Landreth Lodge and its selected communities volume of 1990. We are delighted to present a Great Steward Award to Angie and William Butler for their sensitive work on the Landreth Lodge.
The next award is presented for the Lone Star Gas Restoration, which is at 908 Monroe Street in downtown. The Lone Star Gas Company was organized in 1909 when it completed a pipeline to Fort Worth, making the Lone Star Gas Company the city's major source of natural gas. The company's 4-story headquarters were designed by Wyatt C. Hedrick in 1929 with C.L. Hudgens and Kane as contractor. In 1957, 3 stories were added to the building by the original team, as well as the iconic neon 20-foot blue flame that is locally landmarked, just like the building. Today, the Lone Star Gas Building is used as a City Hall annex with the Water Department's customer service lobby on the main floor, and in 2004, the flame stopped rotating. And in 2018, the City of Fort Worth removed its iconic landmark 20-foot neon blue flame for restoration. Earlier this year, Historic Fort Worth board member John Roberts spotted the flame on a flatbed truck. Nothing gets past John when it comes to Fort Worth architecture. In place of the neon were new LED lights covered by protective lenses. The restored flame was installed on top of the building once again. The project has earned a Preservation Project Award for the city. And as we say, let it shine, 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 let it shine. Dana Bergdorf, Assistant City Manager, and Brian Glass, Property Management Director for the city, will accept the award.
Now we have a very unique residential structure. This is the Lustron House. The house at 4701 Marks Place was built in 1949 and was identified as an architecturally significant in 1989 by the San Francisco architectural firm hired to survey Fort Worth's most important buildings. The Lustron House was the product of Carl Stanlin's Lustron Corporation, and it received funding from the Reconstruction Finance Corporation to manufacture a mass-produced factory-built house. The steel frame was entirely clad in 2-foot square porcelain enameled panels. The house appealed to a nation in love with the automobile, and the prices were moderate, between $8,500 and $9,500. The current owner purchased the little metal house in December of 2020, repaired and restored the house throughout 2021. Owned today by Peggy Muir, the house is still and it has its original 1949 roof, and it was identified as likely to be eligible for the National Register of Historic Places by that same San Francisco survey team, and that was done in 1989. Will Mrs. Muir please come to receive a Preservation Project Award for this important residence?
The next award is for Mule Alley, which is at 122 East Exchange. The Fort Worth Stockyards Company's wooden horse and mule barns located at this site were destroyed by fire on March 14, 1911. The company replaced the barn and the buildings with new fireproof buildings, in 1912, and these buildings are still standing today. The two barns were designed by architects Klipstein and Rathman out of St. Louis, and they feature red brick load-bearing walls with concrete encased wrought iron structural members. The open space between the two barns is affectionately known as Mule Alley. The restoration work included the repair of structural damage to all parts of the building. Restorations and replacements were made to original design elements, including damaged steel and wood windows, missing brick and damaged openings, stormwater elements, flagpoles, and decorative soffits. The challenge for this project was to provide economically viable opportunities for various new commercial uses, yet respecting the historic character of the building and of the stockyards. Working together on a sensitive reimagining of the Mule Alley were Craig Cavalier of Majestic Realty Company, Bradley Hickman Jr. of Hickman Companies, and Michael Bennett, AIA of Bennett Partners. And if you haven't been down there, it's super fun. You got to go. And so it's a pleasure to present a Preservation Project Award for Mule Alley to Craig Cavalier, Kayla Wilkie, Bradley Hickman Jr., Samantha Gabarino, and Sarah Niemeyer.
The late Mike Nichols was a consummate journalist, copy editor, columnist, local historian, and author. He was a fifth-generation Texan who attended public schools in Poly's neighborhood. At Polytechnic High School, Mike co-edited the Parakeet newsletter. He received a Bachelor's of Arts in Journalism from the University of North Texas. Mike worked at the Star-Telegram for 23 years and traveled to 40 countries on assignment. But when he returned home, Mike wrote that he thought that Fort Worth was a really interesting place. He wrote 6 books, including Balaam Gimbel's Gumption, which received the Texas Institute of Letters Humor Award for the funniest Texas book in 2004. He also published hundreds of blogs under the title Hometown by Handlebar. His research was impeccable as it was appealing, and the Tarrant County Historical Commission honored him with the Quentin McGowan Media Award. Mike was known to say that he is a journalist by training, a slacker by inclination, and a Texan by providence. Historic Fort Worth is pleased to present Mike Nichols a posthumous Preservation Achievement Award.
The last award for this evening is a Preservation Achievement Award, which we are presenting to Judith Singer Cohen and the late Donald M. Cohen. Armed with a degree in art history from TCU and a master's degree in art history from SMU, plus grants from the Certified Local Government Program of the National Park Service, the Mary Pottishman Lard Foundation, and the Tarrant County Historical Society, Judith Singer Cohen, together with her husband Donald, a physician and top-notch photographer, set out to make her heart sing by researching and writing Cowtown Moderne Art Deco architecture of Fort Worth, Texas. Although Cowtown Moderne was published in 1988 by Texas A&M University Press, it was in the works much earlier. Judith networked with Fort Worth's architectural community, its museum community, preservation community, and academic community. As Judy researched various Art Deco buildings in town, Don was by her side with his high-powered camera. Cowtown Moderne was very much a Cohen collaboration, as witnessed on a full page in the front of the book, opposite the copyright information where Judy wrote, "For Don, the book you said was there." It is a pleasure to present the Preservation Achievement Award for Cowtown Moderne to the children of Judy Cohen and the late Donald Cohen.